Cutting off my best friend led to the greatest night out of my life. My best friend left me stranded in Hollywood at 2 a.m. on her 21st birthday, and it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. This was back in 2011 before Uber existed, and getting stuck somewhere at night was actually scary. Peyton and I had been best friends since middle school, but by college she'd turned into someone I barely recognized. She was the kind of person who'd borrow your favorite dress without asking, then return it with wine stains. She'd tell guys you liked that you had a boyfriend, just so she could date them instead. But I kept making excuses for her because we had so much history. Peyton's 21st birthday was supposed to be this huge deal. She'd been planning it for months and talking about how we were going to hit all these clubs on Sunset Boulevard. I was sitting in statistics class the week before trying to focus on probability equations, but Peyton kept texting me about birthday outfits. This girl Carly next to me must have noticed because she whispered, "Your friend seems intense." We'd just gotten paired for a group project and she was the only person who actually did their share of the work. After class, she wrote her number on my notebook and said, "Let's hang out sometime. You seem like you need better friends." We ended up getting coffee twice that week and she was surprisingly easy to talk to. I don't drink because my dad was an alcoholic and I've seen what it does to people. So I offered to be Peyton's designated driver for her birthday. I'd pick everyone up in my Subaru and make sure everyone got home safe. Peyton looked at me like I'd suggested ruining her entire birthday. "No way, you'll just sit there judging everyone and making us feel bad for having fun." She said her boyfriend Dario would drive us instead. I tried explaining that I never judge anyone and just wanted to help, but she cut me off. "Dario's only having a few beers. He's totally fine to drive." I should have trusted my gut and stayed home. But Peyton had this way of making you feel like you were overreacting about everything. She'd been doing it for years. When she hooked up with my prom date at the after party, she said I was being dramatic because we weren't officially dating. When she told my mom about my tattoo after promising to keep it secret, she said I was being too sensitive. I always ended up apologizing to her somehow. The night started exactly how I expected. Dario was already drunk when he picked me up and Peyton was encouraging him to take shots in the car while driving. I sat in the backseat gripping the door handle and praying we wouldn't crash. At the first club, Peyton introduced me to guys as her boring friend who doesn't know how to have fun. At the second club, she spilled her drink on my new shoes, then laughed about it. By the third club, Dario could barely stand up straight. Around 1:30 a.m., I found Peyton making out with some random guy in a booth while Dario was passed out at the bar. I tried to tell her we needed to leave and figure out how to get home safely. She pushed me away and said I was jealous because nobody wanted to kiss me. Then she grabbed Dario and they stumbled out to the parking lot. I followed them, begging Dario not to drive, but Peyton kept telling him I was trying to ruin her birthday. They got in his car and drove away, left me standing in the parking lot in downtown Hollywood with a dead phone battery and no way home. The clubs were closing and drunk people were everywhere. Some guy tried to grab my arm asking if I needed a ride. I'd never been so scared in my life. Then I remembered Carly from statistics class. We'd only hung out those 2 times, but something about her made me think she'd actually help. I found a security guard who let me use his phone and called her praying she'd answer at 2 a.m. She picked up on the third ring, and when I explained what happened, she immediately said, "Text me the address. I'm coming right now." Carly showed up 20 minutes later in her pajamas and fuzzy slippers. She had a phone charger ready and a bottle of water for me. On the drive home, she didn't lecture me about having terrible friends or ask why I put up with Peyton. She just played good music and told me funny stories about her own worst birthday experiences. When she dropped me off, she hugged me and said, "You deserve better friends. Call me anytime you need anything." The next morning, Peyton texted me 50 times. First, she was mad I'd abandoned her on her birthday. Then she was calling me dramatic for being upset. Then she was saying I needed to apologize for making Dario feel bad about driving drunk. That was the moment I finally saw it clearly. 9 years of friendship and she'd never once taken responsibility for anything. I blocked her number and never spoke to her again. But I did text Carly to say thank you and ask if she wanted to get coffee. That coffee turned into studying together. Studying turned into hanging out every weekend. She introduced me to her friend group who were all genuinely kind people who looked out for each other. She taught me what real friendship looked like. Last month, Carly stood beside me as my maid of honor at my wedding. During her speech, she told everyone about the night she picked me up in Hollywood wearing fuzzy slippers. She said sometimes the worst moments lead to the best friendships. Peyton wasn't invited, but I heard she's on her 3rd DUI now.